the male protagonist of this anime. Futaro dreams about him marrying 5 beautiful women. Unexpectedly, when he woke up, his dream comes true. The 5 girls turn out to be quintuplets, having not only hot figures and pretty faces, but also tens of millions of assets. In contrast, Futaro is just a poor high school student who can't even afford to eat some meat. Why would he get the favor of the 5 wealthy girls? It starts with an ordinary yakiniku combo. Futaro orders a yakiniku combo in the cafeteria, but he asks for removing the meat so that he can enjoy the miso soup and pickles in the combo while just paying for the rice. Futaro, who comes from a poor family and is an introvert, orders this set meal every day and sits in the corner to enjoy the food. But today he sees a girl, Itsuki, sitting on his booth. None of them is willing to find another seat and thus share the table. Unlike Futaro, Itsuki's meal is very luxurious. Although Futaro is envious, he just glances at it and then starts doing his own business, which is studying for exams during lunchtime. Itsuki thinks he is boning up before exams, and probably a study slacker like her. To confirm it, she picks up Futaro's test paper, only to find that he has achieved a perfect score. Itsuki immediately changes her attitude, asking Futaro to teach her, but gets ruthlessly rejected. To please Futaro, she offers to give him her food, which obviously fails, while Futaro just leaves some harsh words for her. "You eat too much. Better be careful about your weight." To be honest, if Futaro wasn't the male protagonist, I don't think he can get a girlfriend. Itsuki is irritated, while Futaro receives a call from his sister Reiha, who tells him that their father has found him a job as a tutor. The employer offers 5 times the market price, enough for their family to pay off their debts. Knowing that his tutored student will transfer to his class, Futaro begins to look forward to her arrival. Unexpectedly, the girl turns out to be none other than Itsuki. Regretted, Futaro decides to find an opportunity to apologize to her, in order not to lose this tutor job. However, Itsuki has been ignoring him in class, so he can only try to talk to her in the cafeteria. But Itsuki does not choose the same seat as yesterday. Instead, she sits next to 4 girls. One of the girls, Ichika, mistakenly thinks that Futaro likes Itsuki, proposing to help him create some chances to meet Itsuki. But Futaro wants to solve the problem on his own and rejects her, which makes her feel he's a real man. Before she leaves, she tells Futaro that he can come to her if he needs any help. Futaro doesn't take it seriously, only feeling worried and annoyed that he will meet Itsuki at night as her tutor. As he is troubled, another girl named Yotsuba comes to him. She picks up the test paper he dropped and hands it back to him, along with her own paper. She seems to be interested in Futaro and has been waiting for him to thank her. Futaro ignores her, returns her test paper, and claims they are even now. After school, Futaro follows after Itsuki, but he still doesn't find a chance to get close to her. Nino and Miku by Itsuki's side mistake him for a stalker and stop him at the door of the apartment. Futaro doesn't want to miss the opportunity to apologize to Itsuki, breaking into the apartment. However, Itsuki has already taken the elevator, so he has to climb up to 30th floor through the stairs in one go. He manages to stop Itsuki and introduces himself as her tutor. Just then, 4 girls walk out of the elevator. Their conversation makes Futaro realize that he is going to tutor a quintuplet. Anyway, Futaro is ready to get to work immediately, but all girls except Yotsuba refuse to be tutored. Itsuki and Miku reject Futaro on the same grounds that they don't want to tutor their age. Luckily, Ichika is easy to be convinced, and Futaro intends to take her to study in the living room because her room is so chaotic that she can't even find her clothes. The only good thing is that Nino makes a lot of cookies, which bring the 5 girls to the living room together. They are not interested in studying and pay no attention to Futaro. And Nino even secretly added sleeping pills into his water in order to kick him out. When Futaro wakes up, he is at his doorstep. It turns out that Itsuki sent him back based on the address on his student ID and asks him to give up becoming their tutor. However, Futaro needs the job so much that he can't grant her request. When they are quarreling about it, Reiha sees them and offers to invite Itsuki to their house for dinner. Itsuki thinks Reiha is very cute and accepts her offer. As she enters the small apartment and knows about their debt, Itsuki develops sympathy for Futaro, and coupled with her interest in Reiha, she decides not to reject Futaro anymore. Futaro officially became a home tutor. The quintuplets' parents' stipulation was for him to ensure their successful graduation. Consequently, Futaro prepares a proficiency test, with the intention to tutor only those who can pass the exam in the future. Unexpectedly, he overestimates their abilities. They are all underperformers, and the total score of all 5 combined is a mere 100 points. Worse still, they loathe studying and consistently finds excuses to evade Futaro. One day, Futaro suddenly receives a note from Miku inviting him to meet on the rooftop, because she expressed in the note that she could no longer contain her emotions. He assumes she wants to confess her feelings to him. It wasn't until they meet that Futaro realizes she simply wants to answer the history question he posed earlier in the morning. This leaves him puzzled about her real reason for wanting to meet alone. When Miku accidentally drops her phone during Futaro's questioning, he notices her wallpaper and discovers her secret fondness for the warlords of the Sengoku period, and she has amassed quite a bit of historical knowledge. However, her interest diverges significantly from her peers, who are fans of popular actors and models, so she thinks she is a weird one. Seeing this as a great opportunity to encourage Miku to learn more about history, Futaro intentionally flaunts his excellent grades in the subject. To his surprise, Miku shows a strong interest in the stories of the warlords, which leads Futaro to a method of engaging her in study. He regales her with anecdotes about these warlords, and then, capitalizing on Miku's enthusiasm, proposes to teach more historical knowledge in the next lesson. Futaro's plan is impeccably devised, and Miku accepts his arrangement. Just when Futaro is delighted by this, Miku mentions the anecdote of a certain warlord, which he has not heard of at all. Miku immediately thinks that Futaro is not worthy to teach her and is very disappointed in him. Futaro is aroused by Miku, and he goes to the library to borrow a lot of history books. After 2 days of study, Futaro offers to have a history quiz contest with Miku, who however, rejects him and flees in a hurry. To catch up with her, Futaro accidentally bumps into Yotsuba, but actually, it is Miku who deliberately dresses up as Yotsuba. Futaro recognizes Miku based on their differences. Seeing herself being exposed, Miku runs away again, while Futaro immediately follows. During the process, they play a solitaire game with warlords' names, but their physical strength is so poor that they soon collapse on the lawn tired. Futaro buys a drink for Miku and explains the anecdote she mentioned. He consulted many history books but did not find any relevant records until he borrowed Yotsuba's mobile phone and found it online. Miku does not want to reveal her secret, hurriedly asking Futaro if he has mentioned to Yotsuba that she likes warlords. Getting a no from him, Miku feels relieved. She thinks she is the most useless of her sisters, as her sisters can easily do what she can do, while she may not be able to do what they do. She then asks Futaro to give her up. However, Futaro is inspired by her. He tells her that her grades are the best of all. If her sisters can be like her, it means they all have a lot of potential. He believes that they will definitely get 100 points. With Futaro's encouragement, Miku decides to start studying seriously, and she receives his tutoring along with Yotsuba. Futaro is very relieved. He believes that as long as he treats them gently, he will surely gain their approval. But he ignores how much Nino hates him. To sabotage Futaro tutoring them, Nino calls away Yotsuba, Ichika, and Itsuki. Only Miku, who has formed a friendship with Futaro, rejects to leave. Nino is upset about being betrayed by Miku. She then proposes a competition on cooking skills with Miku, and Futaro is asked to be the judge. If she wins, Miku will be banned to study today. Nino is the best cook among the Quintuplets, and Miku can't beat her. However, Futaro can't tell the taste of the food. Whatever kind of food is delicious for him. In the end, no winner can be decided, causing Nino to be angrier. Considering Miku has just been involved in the cooking competition, Futaro decides to stop today's tutoring in advance, but he forgot to bring his notebook. He contacts Miku, who asks him to come back and pick it up himself. When Futaro returns to the apartment, he meets Nino, who mistakes him for Miku due to her myopia, asking him to hand her the contact lenses. After waiting for a while, Nino loses patience and comes behind him to help. Futaro can feel the softness of her body, getting very shy, knowing that Nino will become very angry if recognizes him. Futaro forces himself not to make a sound and tries to avoid her touch. Nino mistakenly thinks Miku is still angry with her, so she makes it clear that she dislikes Futaro and does not want anyone other than the 5 sisters in the house. Nino reacts violently and accidentally slaps the cabinet above her head. When the cabinet opens, the books inside fall. To protect Nino, Futaro pounces on her. Just then, Itsuki returns home and she immediately takes the picture of Futaro on Nino. With the evidence, Nino accuses Futaro of being a pervert and forbids him to come to their house. Luckily, Miku has recorded voice evidence to refute Nino, arguing that Futaro is not a bad person. After analyzing, Itsuki concludes that Futaro was protecting Nino, but Nino refuses to accept this result, and she still stubbornly wants to get rid of Futaro. As the eldest sister, Ichika hopes that the 5 sisters can get along harmoniously. Seeing that nobody is by her side, Nino seems very sad and runs away from the house. Futaro meets Nino downstairs. He doesn't want to see her sad alone, and decides to stay with her. Thinking of Nino's attitude towards him, Futaro speculates that she just loves her sisters so much that she does not want him to get involved among them. Nino admits it, but she still refuses to accept him. Even if she may be hated by her sisters, she will not approve of Futaro. Futaro never officially started classes, but Itsuki still pays him a sum as agreed. He decides to use the money to grant Reiha's wish of going to the amusement center. Reiha is so excited that she invites Itsuki to go with them. In their company, Reiha has a very pleasant day. As they are about to go home, they encounter Itsuki's four older sisters. Yotsuba thinks Reiha is very cute, inviting her to join them in the fireworks display. Unexpectedly, Futaro strictly requests them to finish their homework before they can hang out together. In order to participate in the fireworks festival together, the five sisters complete their homework with great effort. Everyone except Futaro is looking forward to the fireworks display. Futaro thinks there will be fireworks display every year, and he doesn't understand why they're so excited. Mika tells him that the fireworks are the memory of their mother. When their mother was still alive, they watched fireworks together every year. That is why fireworks are special to them. During the fireworks festival, Nino and his sisters get separated. Just as she is about to fall, Futaro catches her in time. Nino then heads to the hotel she booked for watching the fireworks. However, she is the only one who knows the address. Nino tries to contact her sisters, but she only reaches Yotsuba. Thinking about what fireworks meant to them, Futaro decides to help bring the others to the hotel, so they can gather to memorize the important moments. He first meets Ichika, who is with a middle-aged man. The man does not know Futaro, wondering why he is here. Just as Futaro is thinking about how to answer, Ichika leaves with the man in a hurry. He then encounters Miku, whose foot happens to be injured. Futaro takes the initiative to carry her and treats her wound. Just then, two female journalists passing by want to interview them. When asked what the relationship is, Miku says they are close friends, while Futaro says they are just acquaintances. Hearing his answer, Miku seems very unhappy, but Futaro doesn't understand why. Just then, they notice Itsuki nearby. Futaro asks Miku to wait for him in place and catches up with Itsuki alone. He then reveals to Itsuki about his encounter with Ichika and the man, and Itsuki decides to look for Ichika with him. Unexpectedly, Ichika suddenly appears in front of Futaro, dragging him into an alley, where she tells him that she got a temporary job and can't watch fireworks with them, hoping he can help her apologize to her sisters. Just as she is about to leave for work, she almost bumps into the man she was with before, who seems to be her manager at work. Since she left halfway through work, she is afraid of being scolded. In order to avoid him, Ichika hugs Futaro tightly, pretending to be a couple with him. Futaro is always asked about his relationship with the Quintuplets tonight. He thinks he is just their tutor, and literally, they can't be taken as friends. Learning of Futaro's true thoughts, Ichika is a bit disappointed as she has always thought they were friends. While waiting for the man to leave, Futaro overhears him talking about filming. Ichika explains that the man is a photographer and she is his assistant. As Ichika is avoiding being caught by the man, he mistakes Miku for her, trying to take Miku with him. Futaro hurriedly catches up with them, stopping the man from taking Miku away. Convinced that he didn't recognize the wrong person, the man claims that Ichika is the most important actress in their company, and he has to take her back. Futaro finally realizes that Ichika has cheated on him and that she is actually working as an actress. The man is in a hurry to take Ichika to the audition. As the misunderstanding is finally resolved, he takes the real Ichika with him. As they are walking away, Futaro catches up with Ichika again, asking if she really decides not to watch the fireworks with them. Ichika then reveals everything to him. 6 months ago, she was selected to play some supporting roles in different films. She worked hard and finally got the opportunity to join the audition tonight, which is very important for her. If she's lucky, she might be able to make her first debut as an important role. After the explanation, she asks Futaro to help her to practice the scene she'll be playing. There is a line saying, "It's great that you can be my teacher." Hearing this, Futaro is very touched. Before Ichika leaves, Futaro suddenly stops her. He can tell that Ichika always hides her true emotions with a fake smile, and he hopes that she will cheer up. He tells her he will be here waiting for her to come back and apologize to the others along with her. Ichika is encouraged by his words, performing quite well in her audition after. Although the fireworks festival has ended, she and Futaro bring a lot of fireworks and realize the promise to watch the fireworks together with her sisters in another way. Ichika apologizes to her sisters, receiving everyone's understanding. They make a promise that they will always share both happiness and sadness with each other. In the following story, the Quintuplets are about to have their midterm exams. To help them pass, Futaro starts a new tutoring plan, but neither Itsuki nor Nino is willing to cooperate with him. At the end of school that day, Futaro receives a notification from the father of the Quintuplets, which warns him that if one of the Quintuplets fails, he will be fired. This is very bad news for Futaro, who becomes very anxious. With only a week left, he has to force them to study as much as possible. During then, Itsuki always studies alone, but Futaro believes that it is difficult to improve her grades on her own, and he hopes that she will obediently follow his instructions like Ichika and Miku. Itsuki feels that Futaro disrespects her and has a fierce dispute with him. Despite all this, Futaro has made up his mind. He cancels breaks and asks the girls to study without interruption. Ichika discovers that Futaro has become different, and in order to make it easier for him to tutor them, she asks him to stay in their apartment. During the process, Nino notices that something went wrong with Futaro and Itsuki. Disguised as Itsuki, she has a conversation with him. Because they talk through the door, Futaro doesn't notice anything abnormal and really takes Nino for Itsuki. He not only apologizes for his aggressive words, but also voices their father's demands. Nino thinks this is a good opportunity for her to get rid of Futaro and is very excited. Futaro can't change her mind and can only try to tutor others. Since there is no extra room in the apartment, Miku spares her room to Futaro. At midnight, Miku accidentally returns to her own room from the toilet. Futaro wakes up shocked. To avoid an awkward situation, he flees the room. Then he lies to Miku that he was sleeping on the sofa in the living room. Futaro's lies continue. He deliberately mistakes Itsuki for Miku and tutors her. Surprisingly, Itsuki actually follows his instructions. During the process, they take the opportunity to apologize to each other. After the exams, Futaro checks their results. Nino didn't bugger up the test on purpose, and the other girls tried their best, but each of them passed only one subject. Futaro analyzes the shortcomings of each of them and gives them a final farewell. Just then, their father calls. Nino is impressed by Futaro and lies that they avoided failing all 5 subjects, which helps Futaro keep his position. He vows to make them pass all next time. However, before Futaro can start his new plan, he encounters an accident. After eating the food prepared by Miku, he develops gastrointestinal problems, but he doesn't want to delay his work, asking Yotsuba to help keep the other girls at home. Yotsuba falsely claims that Futaro gets a disease that kills at the touch of a move. Despite her clumsy lie, Nino and Itsuki decide to stay at home. Soon, the lie is seen through, and Futaro can't help complaining that Yotsuba is really bad at lying. Hearing this, Yotsuba suddenly confesses her feelings to Futaro, who immediately blushes, satisfied to see his shyness. Yotsuba leaves. One day, Ichika takes the initiative to exchange email addresses with Futaro. She then sends him a photo of them being close, threatening him to get the other 4 girls' email addresses so that she can have some free time without Futaro watching her study. He easily gets the email addresses of Miku, Yotsuba, and Itsuki, while Nino is a bit troublesome, as she rejects giving out her email address. Futaro claims that he will chat with her 4 sisters behind Nino. Hearing this, Nino finally gives in. Futaro hands her the student handbook, asking her to write down her email address. Just then, Futaro sees Yotsuba contacting members of the basketball club, suspecting that she wants to join the basketball club to avoid studying. He forgets about the handbook and secretly follows Yotsuba. Unexpectedly, Yotsuba actually comes to turn down the invitation of the basketball club. She is grateful to Futaro for helping her and wants to spend her energy on studying, which surprises Futaro. After school, Futaro discovers that Nino has not returned his handbook, which contains an old photo of him, and he is ashamed of how he looked back then. He decides to sneak into Nino's room to get the handbook back, only to be discovered by Nino, and she gets furious. She promises to return the student handbook to Futaro only if he helps her pierce her ears. Futaro agrees to Nino and plans to secretly retrieve the handbook. Just then, it accidentally falls to the floor, revealing a photo hidden inside. Interestingly, Nino does not recognize the person in the photo as Futaro, even saying that this is the type of guy she likes. Futaro is reluctant to let the secret come to light, and can only lie that the person in the photo is his relative. Nino also wants to show pictures of her sisters as children, but Futaro is immersed in his own world and doesn't notice her words. Futaro used to be a bad boy, and he changed because he was influenced by a little girl. However, unbeknownst to him, the little girl who is very important to him turns out to be one of the Quintuplets. In the following story, they are about to go to a school camp. The Quintuplets dislike Futaro's plain outfits and specially buy him clothes to wear at the school camp. Futaro is ready to travel with the Quintuplets, but misses the departure time because he is taking care of the sick Reha. But the Quintuplets did not leave him behind, insisting on waiting for him to set off together. Unluckily, they encounter a storm on the way and have to stay overnight at a hotel. Since there is only one spare room left, the quintuplets have to sleep in the same room with Futaro, who seems so excited, so the quintuplets are worried that he will force to have intimate interactions with them. But as they figure out ways to cope with it, Futaro has fallen asleep. Since the audition, Ichika has developed a crush on Futaro. Just as she is about to secretly kiss him, the sudden appearance of Itsuki interrupts her. Itsuki is overly nervous to see it, and she does not recognize Ichika. The only certainty is that someone likes Futaro. After the storm, they finally arrive at the school camp, where there is a regular program, the courage test. Futaro and Yotsuba dress up in funny costumes that scare a lot of people away. Of the other 4 sisters, Nino and Itsuki are easily frightened, especially Itsuki, who immediately runs away the moment she sees Futaro in costume. Nino catches up with her, only to stumble and fall. Just when she feels desperate, Futaro picks her up in time. Futaro has taken off the scary mask but leaves the blonde wig on, which makes Nino mistakenly think he is Futaro's relative. Futaro is reluctant to expose his past and lies that his name is Kentaro. Nino soon grows to like him, and when she notices the bruise on his face, she puts a band-aid on him. Suddenly, Nino stumbles and is about to fall off a cliff. Futaro protects her again, deepening Nino's affection for him. She then claims that she is very scared and offers to hold hands with him. However, Futaro doesn't want to give her a wrong hint, handing her an amulet chain instead. Nino is still very impressed, inviting him to the campfire tomorrow. Before Futaro gives a response, Itsuki suddenly shows up, allowing him to secretly leave. Futaro is assigned to prepare for the campfire, so he gets a lot of work to do. Just then, Ichika comes to assist him. During the process, she mentions the dancing party at the campfire and wants to practice dancing with Futaro. Unexpectedly, Futaro refuses to dance with her. Hearing this, she can't help but cry. Futaro doesn't want anyone else to see Ichika's tears, dragging her to hide as 2 girls pass by. To make matters worse, they are locked up in a warehouse. It is very cold now, and Futaro cannot find a way to get out of the warehouse, so he decides to warm up the room by drilling wood for the fire. Ichika tries to explain the reason for her crying, voicing her distress. It turns out that her acting career goes very well, so the agent advised her to take a break from school. Futaro is glad that Ichika has found what she wants to do. He believes that everything needs a challenge, like drilling wood for fire. Thanks to his efforts, he finally succeeds in lighting the plank. Touched by the words, Ichika once again plucks up the courage to invite Futaro to dance with her, but he still can't accept it, because there is a rumor that when a girl and a boy dance together at the campfire, their fate will be thus connected. Ichika is surprised to learn that, and as she can see Miku's feelings for Futaro, she knows she shouldn't dance with him. Her mind is in a whirl now, causing her to accidentally kick the wood behind her. Luckily, Futaro holds her in time, but the wood hits the door, setting off the alarm. Just as they don't know how to disarm the alarm, Miku and Itsuki open the door. Ichika and Futaro are still very close, which seems so suspicious to Miku and Itsuki. Ichika got wet from the sprinkler and then gets sick. When Itsuki takes care of her, Ichika voluntarily confesses her feelings for Futaro. Itsuki then disguises herself as Ichika, following Futaro to ski. She wants to know what happened in the warehouse that night, but since Futaro focuses on learning skiing, she can't find a chance to talk to him. During his practice, Futaro accidentally falls into a snowdrift. His hoodie happens to cover his hair, while his band-aid falls on the ground. Nino happens to pass by, and she doesn't see Futaro's hair, mistaking him for Kentaro again. She tries to catch up with him, and Futaro can only hide in a cave, where he meets Miku. The cave is very narrow and Miku has to be very close to Futaro, which makes her quite shy. Later, Futaro learns of Itsuki's disappearance. Nobody can find Itsuki, but Futaro soon sees through the truth. Itsuki is not missing, and she is just pretending to be Ichika. On the last day of the school camp, Futaro is unable to attend the campfire because he is ill. He lies to Nino that Kentaro has left the school camp, so she doesn't have to wait for him to show up. Seeing the sick Futaro still worry about her, Nino feels touched. Meanwhile, the other 4 girls are also thinking about Futaro. They finally realize their feelings for him, and decide to take care of him instead of attending the campfire. Toward the end of the campfire, the quintuplets hold his hand tightly, just like how they would do when dancing. It seems the rumor of the dancing will come true, as one day in the future, Futaro actually marries one of the quintuplets. That brings the end of this anime. Although Futaro does not seem to be good at socializing, he is well aware of the thoughts of the quintuplets and has been trying to maintain their relationship. Unfortunately, the first season does not show Futaro's emotional belonging, but I think the person he cares the most about should be the girl he met when he was younger. If you are also curious about Futaro's story with the mysterious girl and who his bride is, please comment go on, and I'll see if I should recap the second season. If you enjoyed this kind of romantic anime, please also let me know, so I can pick more of this type of anime to recap. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video.